Welcome to the Bite Size Fitness Show, where we talk all things fitness, nutrition, and habits, and break them down into smaller, more digestible, bite-sized pieces of content for you to enjoy. My name is Sean Bykirk, and I am your host, and in today's episode, I'm going to be telling you how you can stay fit during the winter. So if you live in a cold country like I do, you realize winter gets cold, and when things get cold, you tend to move less. When you move less, you stay at home more. When you stay at home more, you probably eat more, and then this probably doesn't do great things for your physique, for your health, for your fitness levels, all that stuff. Okay, so we're going to break it down into two different aspects here, how winter can impact your level of fitness, but also how it can affect your physique, your body weight. Okay, so there's two aspects to this. There's the exercise and the nutrition part of it. We'll start with the exercise. The most obvious one is during the winter, we tend to move less. One of the things I preach all the time is about going for daily walks and just getting those walks and movement in. We tend to get a lot more of this in the summer months, in the spring, in the fall, and then decrease it in the winter. Coming from someone who walks every day, it's non-negotiable. I can tell you during those nice days, there's a lot of other people walking. During the cold days or the rainy days, almost no one. Okay, so you definitely see that number drop. And I've done videos before explaining how important this can be in a concept called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, because we know that most people actually burn more calories through this type of stuff than through exercise alone. So as soon as you start reducing your overall daily movement, you're going to notice your physique, your composition, even maybe your body weight not looking as lean as it once was. So we walk less, we move less. Also, it becomes a lot less convenient to hit the gym. You wake up in the morning, it's cold out, you got to scrape the ice off the car, there's slush, water, salt everywhere, it's dark, not as fun, not as convenient, so we tend to see the numbers at the gym go a little bit lower, especially during those super cold days. Okay, so with those two things combined, obviously you can expect to see a pretty big hit on your overall fitness levels. Now, my first suggestion is not going to be something that everyone's going to love, but it still is probably the best piece of advice, and that would be tough it out. Do it anyway, right? If you live in Canada, you know what winters are like. You're able to bundle up. I know it's not as nice as walking in the summer or the spring, but if you can make it a day-to-day thing, make it non-negotiable. It's so much easier to regulate your overall level of fitness and your health levels rather than just making it dependent on the weather. It's a lot, believe it or not, it's less stressful to do it that way. Another thing is prioritize your fitness in some level. So same thing, if you can, set yourself up so you know which days you're going to the gym, you know which days you're getting your workouts in, and just make it a non-negotiable. If you get one day where it's a really, really bad weather day, then make it up for another time. But really make sure that you set yourself up a goal for a days and duration. Ideally, you want that routine, but don't allow yourself to negotiate and come less and less and less because of the weather. And this is one of those things that I'm really going to stress the importance of exercise during winter, not just because of your physique and your body weight, but because of your health, both physical and mental health. Because as winter comes, we have less daylight. When there's less daylight, we're not moving as much, there's not as much sun exposure, our vitamin D levels go down. And when our vitamin D levels go down, our mood also takes a hit. So depression tends to be a lot higher in these winter months. And we know one of the best ways to combat that and at least mitigate some of those negative effects is through exercise, especially if you can get those outdoor walks with some sunlight. But if you can't do that for whatever reason, then just get moving. Do something to help your mood because these winter months can be depressing to say the least. And if you're not moving, it just makes it that much worse. So that's the fitness part of it. Nutrition is also going to be a big part. This is going to affect more of your overall physique and your body weight. And this is well documented. We tend to think of weight gain as something that happens a little bit over time throughout the year and it just kind of adds up. While that can definitely be true in some cases, the majority of cases actually happens when we gain weight through the months of October to about New Year's. And a few reasons for this. Number one is we're inside more often during these months, so we're more likely to eat. We want comfort food. But the biggest reason is because of the amount of holidays that happen during this time. So you have Thanksgiving, you have Halloween, you have Christmas, you have New Year's, and then you have this really weird week between Christmas and New Year's, like the Twilight Zone, where all people do is just eat and drink and don't move. So this is where people actually tend to accumulate weight and carry over to next year. And you can gain a couple pounds every year. And then in a few years down the road, you might look at the scale, you gain 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds. And you're just like, how did that even happen? Usually it's from this time period, and it's because of these holidays. So the biggest takeaway from this is to not let one meal become a bad day, to not let one bad day become a week, to let that week become a month, and then a month become the year. We tend to have this logic and rationale where we say, okay, you know what, I got so much going on the next couple of weeks, so I'll just start blank. Usually it's like New Year's Day, and that's terrible logic, right? So that would be if you're driving and you have a flat tire and you grab a knife and you slash the other 3 tires because you already have one bad one, right? You would never do that. But that's kind of the same mindset you're using with your nutrition here. All you have to do is you gotta fix that one tire, get back on the road, okay? Because I can tell you right now, one bad meal, even a few bad meals over the course of these months is not a big deal as long as the rest of your routine is relatively healthy, doing the same kind of things you were doing before. And you can mitigate almost all of the negative effects of those excess calories from the few meals if you just stay on track the other days. But we tend to have this all or nothing approach. So really stay away from that. If you are stressed out, you're like, you know what, I don't even like the idea of potentially gaining a pound or 2. I would never suggest you to change up what you're doing with these holiday meals. Like, enjoy yourself, but if you want, you can reduce the calories the days prior and or the days after, increasing some exercise output as well. Doing some of those things can absolutely help, but enjoy the time with your family. It's not going to be these 1 or 2 meals that really cause you to spiral out of control. Okay, so we have 2 things happening here. We have the concept of us not moving as much and the concept of us eating more. And this is going to be bad for our overall fitness levels, for our health, and for our physique. So if you acknowledge that there's going to be some negative effects somewhere, you have to make concessions elsewhere. So if you hate the cold and you're not going to go for a walk, but you still want to maintain your physique, you have to understand that you have to make adjustments elsewhere. So it could be spending more time at the gym. It can be being a lot more mindful with your nutrition, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, right? If you acknowledge that your nutrition isn't going to be as good as it was before, then you'll have to make some adjustments with your fitness. So go for longer walks, move more, spend more time at the gym, really focus on your performance at the gym as well. Another thing you can do is just acknowledge that this holiday season, these few months, are probably not going to be the greatest when it comes to your body weight, and that's okay. So a lot of us call it quote unquote bulking season, right? So you're not intentionally gaining weight, but gaining weight and acknowledging that it's going to happen. But what you have to do here, if you want to maintain a level of consistency year after year, is you have to dedicate a certain amount of time, whether it's the spring or the summer, to drop that weight. Because we know if you don't do that, if you just go back to your regular routine, you might stabilize the weight, but every year you're going to just keep accumulating those few pounds that you put on during the holidays. So you can absolutely just acknowledge that I'm not going to move as much, but remember, you should exercise still, get some sort of movement, at least for your health, and you might acknowledge that I'm going to eat more. And as a result, I'm going to put on some weight. And that's okay, because when the weather comes and everything's better, then I'm going to drop the weight. But we tend to negotiate these things with ourselves all the time, and it doesn't actually happen. So if you're going to have that strategy, if you are really serious about maintaining that healthy lifestyle, you have to at some point dedicate time to reverse some of the stuff that you did over the holidays. Okay, so you can absolutely stay fit during winter. It's just about awareness, understanding where some of the big triggers are going to be, what you can do about it, where you want to make concessions versus where you don't, and then kind of come up with a plan that works for you. But the one thing I will say is don't let the bad weather be an excuse to not move, to not exercise, because I've seen it so many times. You're going to end up feeling way worse. So even if you don't care about the physique aspect of it, don't stop exercising, don't stop moving, don't let one bad day become a few bad months. That's the biggest takeaway of this video. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys. See you in the next one.